Hello guys, and welcome back to our channel. Today I am going to be doing a video kind of covering my first 2 weeks postpartum, everything having to do with me and my body and how I'm doing and how I'm feeling. So today is Tuesday the 3rd, so I'm officially 2 weeks postpartum today. I literally wrote down everything in my notes. Israel is sitting right here and is snuggle me. He's trying to go down for a nap. Okay, so I'm just gonna start going through the first couple of days postpartum, which obviously are the hardest. I'm counting the day that I had him as my first day postpartum. So I had him in the morning of August 20th. He was born at 10:58 a.m. So I had the full rest of that day to be postpartum, so that's why I'm counting it as the first day. My epidural did not wear off for a good, I don't know, like 12 hours to be honest. Like I really could not walk on my own for a really long time. So the first 12 hours, I would say, after having him, I was super numb down there still, so I didn't feel much, which was really nice, but at the same time I couldn't move. I needed help getting to the bathroom. They wouldn't let me walk properly. Like I had to basically lock my knees and do like this pigeon-toed walk, and I had two people, so one on this arm and one on that arm, helping me get to the bathroom because they didn't trust me to walk on my own since my epidural had a hard time wearing off. But once my epidural wore off, that's when my pain started. So it was really bad, and I didn't know that I could take any medication until one of my nurses came in like in the middle of the night, and she was like, "You haven't been taking medication? You haven't started Tylenol yet?" And I was like, "No." So she came in and gave me my first dose of Tylenol. It was really hard for me to pee, so I had to pee a lot. For some reason, it was like every time I sat down to pee, I would pee a little bit and then I would stop, and then I'd pee a little bit and then I would stop. And the nurses were trying to rush me because they needed to go to their next patient, and I just felt so rushed, and I was like, just leave me alone, just let me sit in here for like 5 minutes so I can pee. And they kept coming in to check on me. I was like, just leave me alone, I'm trying to empty my bladder completely here and you keep interrupting me. And I'm one of those people who has stage fright when they pee really badly, and so it was hard for me to go pee when they kept like knocking on the door every 2 seconds asking if I was okay. Of course, I had tons and tons of bleeding that first day, and every time I would breastfeed, I would get contractions, and then that would like push out and expel some of the blood that was still in my uterus. And then of course, every couple of hours I had nurses coming in, pressing on my uterus, checking my bleeding, and every time they would like press on my uterus, more blood would kind of gush out. But I didn't have any issues. Every time they would check my bleeding, they always said that it was looking really good. The contractions while breastfeeding the first day were not horrific, but my butt burned like really bad every time I would have contractions. But I've heard that every child you have after your first one, the breastfeeding contractions get worse and worse and worse because your uterus has to do a lot more work to shrink down. So the first day postpartum was half good because I was numb for half of it, and then half pretty awful because I didn't take meds. So my second day postpartum is our second day in the hospital. That was the day that we got to come home. So we were discharged in the afternoon. I was extremely uncomfortable. My butt hurt so bad because I was trying to breastfeed him like every few hours, and when you're breastfeeding, you want to make sure that you're sitting up, that you have good posture. Usually I like to have my legs crossed because it gives me better balance, and I was trying to use this boppy that sucked. It's horrible. It's called My Breast Friend. I do not recommend that boppy as of right now, but I've heard that it's better for when the babies are a little bit older and they have some more head control. Of course, I was still having contractions while breastfeeding. Those contractions lasted, I would say, about 5 days. My belly, as soon as I had him, just went down. I never had any swelling at all. It was just kind of like a jello belly almost. Like I would bend over and it would like be like jello moving around. So I never had swelling. I didn't look pregnant. I just looked really fat. Like my stomach was fat and like jello belly. Like that's the only way that I can describe how my belly looked. So day 2, I was taking Tylenol pretty regularly. Every 4 hours I was taking Tylenol. And then I was talking to one of my good friends from church, and she told me that I need to be switching between ibuprofen and Tylenol. And once I did that, I actually found that ibuprofen worked way better than Tylenol did. So So I always looked forward to when I could take ibuprofen because the ibuprofen took away a ton of the pain. Tylenol, not so much. So make sure that when you are postpartum, every 4 to 6 hours to be switching back between Tylenol and ibuprofen to save your kidneys or liver. I think it's liver. And I made sure I wasn't the best at this, but I tried to remember to write down what medicine I took at what time in my notes. Of course, when you're having a brand new baby newborn, it's really hard to remember. Sometimes I would forget. Sometimes I would have to ask my husband if he remembered. Day 3 postpartum for me was our first like official full day at home. I could barely move or sit up on my own. It was hard to get the baby because he's in a halo bassinet right next to our bed. It was really hard for me to go from laying down to sitting up to bending over to grabbing him just because of my lady parts, and my butt hurt so bad. So almost every time I needed to move myself, my husband had to help like push me up and help me like scoot over, grab him. My 3rd day postpartum, I spent all day in bed, all day breastfeeding. So it made my butt hurt even worse because I was constantly just sitting on it the entire day. So I actually put one of these, it's like basically a giant puppy pad. I put this underneath me when I was sleeping for 2 reasons. 1, I thought maybe I would bleed out, which I never did. And number 2 is I was using ice packs every once in a while and I didn't want them leaking all over our bed. So I slept on this and actually sat on it and just had this underneath me whenever I was in bed. And this actually helped me like slide down the bed. So I use this to help myself move and slide down the bed to get off of it because our bed is really high up. So it was really hard actually getting on the bed and getting off of the bed for me since I'm so short. And I actually started using padsicles that I had made the day that I got induced, and those were amazing. I highly recommend go buy just a pack of maxi pads. Just do the entire pack in padsicles. Put them in your freezer. You will not regret making padsicles. So I used aloe vera, witch hazel, and lavender essential oils in my padsicles. Okay, so day 4 postpartum was the absolute worst for me physically and emotionally. That was the first day that we went out. That was the day that we went to the chiropractor for the first time. We went to a pediatrician appointment and we went to Target, and that was all way too much for me. I should not have done all of that in one day. It was just way too much on my body, and I didn't bring my meds with me, so my meds were wearing off. By the end of that day, which was only a couple of hours that we were out, I could barely walk up the 3 steps that are in our garage to get into our house. Like I could barely move. Just even getting in and out of the car took me like 5 minutes. And that day at the pediatrician, that pediatrician was awful to us. She questioned every single decision that we had made in the hospital because of course they read like your hospital notes and stuff like that, and they know like what your baby's birth weight was. And he lost 9% of his birth weight in those first couple of days. So he got down to 5 pounds 3 ounces. She told me that she wanted me to start supplementing with formula, and I was like, it's only day 3 for me. Like sometimes breast milk takes up to 5 days to come in, and she just kind of made me feel like a little bit of a failure. He was constantly sleeping, like sleeping way too much, I felt like, and wasn't eating very much. He would nurse for maybe 10 minutes and be done, and I just felt like that wasn't enough, that he wasn't getting enough. And just emotionally, I was so overwhelmed. My body was hurting horribly. That day was really, really hard. But it was funny because right after we got home from that pediatrician appointment, I had noticed that my milk came in. So I was like, yay, I don't have to supplement. Not that I was going to in the first place, but she did just make me feel kind of like a failure, like I wasn't feeding him enough, that he wasn't getting enough. And by day 3, that my milk should have been in already. And I was like, I was just so nervous because he is so tiny. Pediatricians get worried about birth weight, especially if they're as small as he is. And I was just so emotional that day. And also that night we ended up having having a visitor, which was great. We love having visitors, but it's just hard because they come over to see your newborn and you're trying to establish breastfeeding. He's really hard to wake up because he's super drowsy still, and I want him to be feeding, but it's hard to feed in front of guests. It's hard to get him latched around guests, and it's just, I feel rude leaving the room or taking the baby from them. So it was just so overwhelming. We shouldn't have had a guest over that night because of how hard that day was for me. I'm not good at saying no when I need to say no. By day 5, every day just got better and better after that. When I missed my meds, I really regretted it and felt it. It was bad when I missed my meds. But I would say after day 5, just every day continued to get better emotionally and physically. And by a week postpartum, I stopped being so religious in my postpartum down there care routine. So I'll talk about kind of what my routine was in a little bit. But by a week, I wasn't as religious with what I was doing every time I would go to the bathroom. And I just started taking less and less meds. I started taking them when I felt pain instead of keeping up on them every 4 hours. Now that I'm 2 weeks out, I'm not taking meds at all. I stopped taking meds at probably a week and a half because the pain was very, very manageable. It only hurts once in a while, like in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping and I move in a weird position, like it'll wake me up, the pain will wake me up. So I'm kind of all over the place, but that's what you get with mom brain. I'm just going through my notes and just talking about it. So I'm sorry that this is not very organized. I'm just kind of trying to go through everything that I can think of. My lady parts down there were only swollen for the first few days. Like I said before, my belly was never swollen at all. It was just like jello and like squishy. Every day it just went down more and more and more and has been just tightening back up again. I also bought a support band from Target that I was wearing my first couple of days. I highly, highly recommend getting a support band for your postpartum body because your organs are just all out of place. Your stomach is all jello belly, so it helps you kind of suck everything in, and it really made me feel like I could walk better. Like I wasn't so loose and like weird and gross. Like it would feel weird to walk without my support band. It's just basically like a super, super, super tight like tube top that goes from right under your boobs to like right above your lady parts, and it just sucks everything in and keeps everything super supported. By 1 week postpartum, I was back to my pre-pregnancy weight, which was 115. Right now I'm about 112 to 115 throughout the day. So it only took me a full week to get back to pre-pregnancy weight, which is literally insane. So right after I left the hospital, I lost about 10 pounds, and then it took me that full week postpartum to lose the other 5. After the first few days postpartum, my bleeding went from being a ton of it and just dark red blood to like a nice medium period, and the blood is more brownish. It's not like super red. The more activity I do and the more out and about I am, the redder it gets. But if I'm just hanging around the house, breastfeeding him, taking care of him, staying at home, it's usually just a steady medium period. Let's talk about going to the bathroom. So the act of going to the bathroom, peeing never burned for me. Like everyone says, oh, the first time that you go pee, it burns like crazy. It never burned for me unless I wasn't taking my meds and the pee was getting onto my stitches. That was the only time that it actually burned. So I was able to go to the bathroom really easily, I would say by day 2 postpartum. I was just going pee like regular. Of course, I would like try to maneuver myself onto the toilet in a really comfortable way so that I wasn't like hurting myself down there, but peeing never hurt. By day 2 postpartum, I was actually able to go number 2 on my own. I never took stool softeners. I just drank coffee, and the first couple of days my stool was pretty soft on its own. Going to the bathroom was never really an issue for me, but that also could be because I didn't tear horrifically. I probably have about 3 stitches, and I actually tore to the side instead of up or down. So my tearing was pretty minimal. It wasn't like a muscle tear or anything like that. It was literally like just skin that tore. I think that's why I haven't had such a hard time postpartum and I've healed pretty easily, is because I didn't tear in the usual place that women tear. But my baby was also really tiny, so that could have played a part in it. Now I'm gonna go over just my basic favorite postpartum essentials. I really don't have that many. I'm just gonna show you what I used for healing and why I like it and why I've been using it. Okay, so for the first few days postpartum, I actually really liked these gigantic pads that they give you from the hospital. Look at how big these are. These are massive, massive, massive pads. But I liked them because I felt like that they gave me good enough coverage and that I could literally stick an ice pack in here if I wanted to and not worry about it like falling out. So I wore these for probably the first 4 days if we weren't going out. So when we went out, I switched over to just like granny panties and a maxi pad. But when we were at home, I was living in these and I actually really loved the mesh panties too. So I wore mesh panties until they stretched out too much and they wouldn't stay up anymore. And then after these were too stretched out, my husband actually gave me the idea to wear a pair of his boxers. So I switched over to wearing his boxers and I still had one of these giant things in there and it worked out perfectly for me and I really liked it. My postpartum routine was wearing these mesh panties or my husband's boxers with a giant pad, and then I would actually put a maxi pad or a padsicle inside of this, so inside of here. And then on top of that, I would put 3 or 4 of these witch hazel pad wipes on top of the pad that's inside of here. So then after I put the witch hazel pad wipes into the pad, I would completely spray this down. And then after I went pee, I would spray myself down with warm water in this Perry bottle. And then of course, dab myself down there. And then I would take my Earth Mama spray and I would spray myself down there too and kind of just let it air out a little bit. And then I'd pull everything up and then get back into bed and go back to breastfeeding and resting and all of that good stuff. These you get from the hospital. I also went home with some witch hazel wipes that they had at the hospital and I went through those really quickly. So that's about it for my 2-week postpartum update. Honestly, I'm feeling really, really good. My stitches are still in. I actually found them recently. I had no idea where they were. I literally took a hand mirror and like looked down there to try and find them and I could not find them for the longest time. They are dissolvable, but I don't know how long it takes for them to dissolve. So we'll see. But I really think that the reason that my postpartum journey has been so easy so far is because of my age. For one, I'm super young. And I also didn't gain very much weight and my labor and delivery was not long. I only pushed 6 times, so 3 contractions. It was about 30 minutes to get him out. My entire labor from start to finish was only about 12 hours. So it was super easy and quick for me. I can't even imagine the pain of going through a regular like 24 to 48 hour labor and delivery and pushing for hours and hours. Oh, also another hack that I have for you guys. Everyone's been asking me, like I post on my story and I'm wearing jeans and I'm like up and doing stuff and we're going out. We've been limiting the time that we're out. We're only out for about 2 to 3 hours at a time because of course I have to feed him. Number 2, the jeans that I wear are actually my maternity jeans. So I've been wearing my maternity jeans because the waistband kind of acts like a belly band because it goes up to here and it keeps everything in pretty tight. But definitely if you want to get back into like just feeling good and getting dressed, wear your maternity jeans. I'm probably gonna wear them for a couple of more weeks and then see if I can fit back into my regular pre-baby, pre-pregnancy jeans. I haven't even tried on my jeans yet because I know for a fact that my hips have widened tremendously and I'm guessing that I'm gonna have to size up in my jeans. Now I'm gonna give you guys kind of a view of what my stomach is looking like at the moment, 2 weeks postpartum. Okay, so this is what I'm looking like with a sweater. Obviously, these are my leggings from Fabletics and I was actually able to wear these throughout my pregnancy because they're so stretchy. So this is what my stomach looks like with my Fabletic leggings on, kind of sucking everything in. This is what my stomach is looking like from the front. So my belly button is the thing that changed the most. It stretched out and literally became flat. And then I had my belly button pierced since I was 15, so it's been about 8 years since I've had my belly button pierced. and that stretched tremendously. That's probably the thing that changed the most on my stomach. I did not get any stretch marks during my pregnancy on my stomach at all, so I got really lucky. My stomach is really sucking in and becoming a lot more flat, which is really nice, but I still have like a little bit of skin right here, and especially when I sit down, it's like, you see this, it's like kind of still that jello-y skin. But for the most part, my skin is getting tighter and tighter by the day. So this is what I look like from the side. Definitely not as thin as I was before, but for 2 weeks postpartum, I'm literally amazed at how good my stomach and body is looking. Like, I'm in shock at what my body has done. And also my love handles are a lot bigger than they were before. I've always had like this curve right here and bigger love handles, not as big as these. So hopefully these guys will go down, we will see. But yeah, that is my 2-week postpartum stomach. I am going to kind of finish this video vlog style. That is it for my 2-week postpartum update, my essentials, just how things have been going. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you subscribe. This channel is actually me and my husband's vlog channel, but I am deciding to post more videos of just me and talking about my pregnancy, labor and delivery, all of that stuff on our channel instead of my personal channel. I don't know, I just don't really, I have a personal channel, but I don't post on it very often, and all of our subscribers are on our vlog channel. If you're a regular watcher, let me know down below if you think I should move these types of sit down videos where it's just me to my personal channel, or if you think I should keep them on our vlog channel. You guys let me know. I will give you guys a little view of Israel and how he's doing right now. I feel like I'm probably just gonna do monthly updates on him so that you guys can kind of know the changes that are going on in his life and how he's doing. Here is my sweet little boy sleeping soundly. He's so funny. He always pops his binky out and then it sits right there on his chin. He loves to sleep with his arms up right by his face because in the womb, that's how he was. Like every picture we got, his hand was by his face, on his face. Oh, he's giving us a little smile right now. That's how he sleeps all the time. It's so cute, but he's 2 weeks old today and I literally cannot believe it. 2 weeks flies by. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you subscribe, follow me and my husband on our Instagrams so that you can get kind of more behind the scenes, look at our lives and more pictures and updates of our son Israel. And if you guys have any prayer requests, please leave them down below. If they're too personal, you can DM me or my husband Aidan on our Instagrams. We love praying for you guys, hearing your prayer requests, hearing your praise reports. I love it when you guys update me on your prayer requests, telling me your prayers have been answered, people have been healed, whatever it may be. I love hearing updates from you guys. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask for prayer. Seriously, we really, really, really do love praying for you guys. So I am going to grab a verse really quickly and do a verse of the vlog, even though this isn't really a vlog. Isaiah 48:17, and it says, "This is what the Lord says, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. I am the Lord your God who teaches you what is best for you, who directs you in the way that you should go." All right, guys, there's gonna be a lot more videos coming up soon. I have a vlog that I need to edit. There's a lot of sit down videos I need to do, our birth story, things like that. So make sure that you have our bell notifications on so that you know when we upload. And we will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.